was. Okay, wait. Before you get mad at me, I know it's been 2 months, but look at my screen. Don't you notice anything different? Anything that looks very clean? That's right. I showered! Also, I got a new camera. Now let's address the elephant in the room. I know it's been 2 months, but to make it up to you guys, we're gonna do something that we've never done before. I'm gonna split the video into 3 different parts. So instead of one giant political yaoi video, you're gonna get 3 giant political yaoi videos. So remember, what does everybody say? The wrinklier the fruit, the sweeter the juice. The political yaoi is our wrinkly fruit, and we are consuming the wrinkly political yaoi juice. So now let's get into part 1 of the political yaoi dating sim season 3, getting oily and good boys. Number 1, Trump arches with the Prime Minister of India. Modi! Here's an accurate example of Trump meeting with the Prime Minister. Okay, they're both arching. As you can see, they're both arching towards each other. Trump is leaning over side to the left, and Modi's leaning over. Here's his arch to the right, and they're shaking hands. He's gripping his one hand in his 2 hands. This is very important. Remember this for later. Trump says, if I back it up, is it fat enough? He's asking him an inquisitive question. He's very curious about whether his arch is enough for Modi, who's a pro at arching. He's a professional. And Modi goes, when you throw it back, is it fast enough? He answers his question with a question. And that's how we're gonna notice this entire thing going. Now let's go over the evidence. Or Trump Truth Socials this, and he says, it was an honor to speak with Prime Minister Modi of India this morning. He is one of my greatest friends and a powerful and respected leader of his country. And you'll notice that I annotated things to the side here. Like when I saw honor, right? We know that honor has to do with family. And it's important to see here that honor is capitalized and Prime Minister Modi is capitalized, and so is India. He is really honored. He wants to make a family with Prime Minister Modi of India. He is one of my greatest friends, which we all know that in the past, historians like to call same-sex couples friends. That's not true. And this is why Trump is doing a historian's gamble here by calling them friends as well. And then he says, and a powerful and respected leader of his country. Now notice PRLC. So remember these letters, and let's come back to it at the end of the segment. Then Trump says, we spoke about many things, including trade and ending the war with Russia and Ukraine. He agreed to stop buying Russian oil and to buy much more from the United States and potentially Venezuela. This is a really big deal. Everybody knows that Modi and Putin are like this. Not only are they in the same imperial harem, which is Xi Jinping's harem, they're close enough to each other that they can have ties like that. Modi is the consort of the South. Putin is the consort of the North. When you put the North and the South together, you get a happy medium. They're a happy medium couple. But now Modi might be uprooting it for Trump. So Modi and Trump make this trade deal where Trump lowers the tariffs on India from 25% to 18%. He calls these trade tariffs, but we all know that what this means is that these are love tariffs. He's not charming enough to charm a harem. So what he will do is he'll basically use cheats. The love tariff forces their love meter to rise because they have to if they want to avoid the opposite effect. The love tariffs means that Trump doesn't have to put in any of the legwork into getting between the other political men's legs. All he has to do is enable the cheats, and then they automatically do it for him. And then that's why Modi moved forward to reduce the tariffs and non-tariff barriers against the United States to 0, which is completely different from Trump's 25 to 18%, by the way. To 0 is a big deal. Modi also commits to buy American, which obviously gives Trump more money, and we all know that Trump is a sugar baby. He's an omega, so well, not all omegas are sugar babies, but all sugar babies are omegas. Do you know what I mean? Trump being an omega gives him a higher chance of being a sugar baby, which makes him really desperate for other political leaders' money. So when Modi says that he's gonna buy American from Trump, Trump's little ears perk up and his eyes start sparkling, and he's like, oh my gosh, money from Modi? No way! And he gets so happy. Anyways, he says that their relationship will be even stronger going on. And then he says, Prime Minister Modi and I are 2 people that get things done. Something that cannot be said for most. What does this mean? He likes Modi because Modi will do things with him. Unlike all the other girls. As you can see, here's an accurate depiction of how Trump looks when he's thinking about Modi, right? And obviously he signs his name in all capitals. This is to show that he's excited. He does that very often. And you might be saying, Lumie, he yapped a lot, but where's the proof? Where's the analysis I was promised? Don't worry, he didn't just yap a lot. He also posted some pictures. Exhibit A! He talked about India's, remember what I said earlier about Modi, beautiful triumphal arch. In effect, and this is an extended metaphor, essentially, he is talking about Modi's beautiful arch. And then in the next sentence, you'll notice he says, ours will be the greatest of them all. When he says ours, he means me and Modi. Not me like me like Trump. So he means Trump and Modi's arches will be the greatest of them all. Anyways, so he's really excited to arch with Modi. And now you're gonna say, Lumie, that's kind of a stretch. He just sent a picture of an arch. Maybe he's really into arches, like physical arches. But don't worry, even if you don't believe me, I have a second image. Not only did he hit one image, he hit 2 images. Image 2. Trump posts a magazine of Trump and Modi that is titled The Mover and the Shaker. Now obviously if you're into graphic design, you will know that when the character is put in front of the other character, so see how Modi is in front of Trump, this means that the first part refers to the first person. So we can assume and extrapolate that this means Modi is the mover and Trump is the shaker. And this might not make sense at first, right? But let's think about it deeply. What does this mean? Obviously, Modi is gonna be moving it while Trump is shaking it. They're either shaking it together or they're shaking it conjointed. And we can't be able to tell unless we analyze the photos, okay? Because there are photos too of the meeting. Do you remember how I said this in my reel? Trump is shaking it like the economy. So if India starts seeing earthquakes soon, just assume that that's Trump shaking it on Modi. Look at my screen. As we can see, it's February 2nd, 2026. It happened like literally right after that video. What we can tell is that it's not me that caused this. It's that it was a very good read on Trump's shaking abilities. He was shaking it really hard on Modi, and that shook the entire earth. I just wanted to put that in there in case you were still doubting the legitimacy of how hard Trump can shake it. Here's obviously Trump meeting Modi for the first time. Here's Modi's arch, right? Trump is noticing how nice his arch is, so Trump is saying, arch so nice, gotta post twice. This one doesn't show too much, but don't worry, there's one that does. Here's Modi walking in for the first time, and as you'll notice, his back is to Trump. What does this mean? His arch is to Trump. He is arching at Trump. And what is Trump doing in the presence of such a triumphant arch? As he called it, not me. I didn't call it that. Trump calls it that. I'm not looking at Modi's arch. It's Trump. But anyways, what is he thinking in the face of such a grandiose arch? He's looking away. Not because he's disinterested, but out of respect and embarrassment. He's shy. He's flustered by the strength of Modi's arch, and that's why Modi has a smug smile on his face. He's smiling because he knows that his arch is good. And you'll notice here too, Modi's arch is here. Trump's left hand is here, right? Which is obviously clammy for witnessing the arch. But where is his right hand? Nowhere but behind Modi's arch. His hand is hidden. That's why I put this little tidbit right here. His hand is hidden, which means it is possibly touching Modi's arch. And this is not the first time he's touched Modi's arch. Look at this! He's touching his arch right here! This is Modi's arch. Here's his hand. Look at this is Trump's arch. Here's his hand. They're arching together. They're touching each other's arches. And here's Trump. Trump is so happy. He's holding him with both hands. He's so excited. Modi's kind of turned away. He might be shy or embarrassed, or he might not be that into Trump. He might be thinking about how he's cheating on Putin, right? We'll never know. But Trump is looking at him with eyes of love, and he's ready to start shaking it, while Modi's ready to start moving it. That's why his tail is wagging. This is actually a very accurate depiction of what happened. If you look up photos and you see that neither of them have ears or tails, that's fake news and that's propaganda. You shouldn't listen to those. So what can we take away from Trump's meeting with Archer Modi? He wants to arch with him. He wants to have an arching session with him. But that doesn't answer the question of why. Why is this arching so important? Why does he want to arch with Modi so much? Let's go all the way back to the beginning. Now remember how I said that these sets of letters would be very important? PRLC? Well, now I have an answer for you why PRLC is important and why the arching is so important to Trump. Now let's start with P. Obviously, it must stand for petrol because it comes right before Trump starts talking about oil, and oil is refined into gas, which is called petrol in the UK. And we know where the UK has been, aka Britain, in India and everywhere else, but also in India. So P stands for petrol. R stands for rum, which is the Haramese nickname for Trump because he got a BBL. That's what his big beautiful legislation was an innuendo for. He just got a BBL and that's why he's so fat. L stands for love. This is obvious. All of these things are very obvious because it follows the harem route. And finally C. Now C might not make sense, but C actually stands for challenge. What does this make? The petrol rump love challenge. Trump's oiling up challenge. And that's why this whole time he has been trying to kidnap Maduro and steal his oil. He has been talking to the oily harem. He has been trying to get his oil to everybody because he is enacting the political yaoi dating sim petrol rump love challenge. And that's why PRLC is capitalized. He is trying to get Modi to oil up. And speaking of petrol, Trump finds a hot new route. Gustavo Petro, or as Trump likes to call him, my little petrol. So everybody has seen this clip, the clip I'm putting on the screen. But if not, then I'll play it again.
Colombian President Gustavo Petro, a couple weeks ago, he said he's got to watch his.
And yeah, I think I stick by my first statement. He's making cocaine, they're sending it into the United States, so he does have to watch his ass.
Back when Trump was still kidnapping Maduro, Petro had things to say about this. And Trump got so mad that he was like, Petro, you better watch your ass. That's what he said. It's literally right here. I censored it for you guys, but that's literally what he said. He said that out loud. And Petro got mad. And so they were fighting with each other for a little while, but then Trump invited Petro over to the White House to meet with him. Obviously, to see if they had any chemistry because Trump is really big on this enemies to lovers thing. That's why he keeps mentioning Biden in all of his speeches. And also, Trump has been really into the South American baddies. Because from this map right here, we can see he kidnapped Maduro from Venezuela. And Colombia, who Gustavo Petro is the president of, is right next to Venezuela. Perhaps he thinks that if he can get oil from Venezuela and from Maduro, he can use that oil to just hop over to Colombia and oil up Gustavo Petro right away. And so they have a long and hard talk. Now, let's take a look at this analysis, because this is when Trump took Petro on a little walk to see the wall of president. Trump is obviously an Omega, that's why I labeled him as Omega 1. Petro is also an Omega, that's why he's labeled as Omega 2. Now, if we zoom in here, you will see Trump's lips, as I annotated here, are pursed. This is because he's needing self-control. Why? Well, look where he's looking. The eyes are the window to the soul. His soul is staring at Petro's south, and his hands are open. Look at how open they are. Nobody would walk normally like that. When you walk, it's like normal like this. He's going like this. He has the modular shape in his hands to grip his south, and he has both hands primed and ready. And meanwhile, Petro is completely oblivious because he thinks it's low burn, but it's not, because we all know that Trump burns hot for his men. But we don't get to see the meeting between them because it's a closed door meeting. All we get to see is what they tweeted afterwards. And Petro had a lot to say because Trump gave him a lot of gifts. Trump gives him a book called Trump, The Art of the Deal, with a picture of Trump on it so that Petro remembers exactly how Trump looks. And he signs it and then writes a little note to him that says, "You are great." And this begs the question. He's great, but we all know that Trump likes to use the word great when he's doing slogans like "Make America Great Again." This would imply that he's really accepting Petro into his concept of greatness, which includes things like America, the size of things, and other men, and also other men. And this rightfully confuses Petro, who says, "What did Trump mean to tell me in this dedication? I don't understand English much." But if you really read between the lines, he's also playing a little coy because he's trying to tease Trump to get him to say it again, because he wants him to explain why he said "you are great." And to do that, he would have to be in his room again behind another closed door meeting, and we don't know what happens behind those closed door meetings, so really it could be anything. Gustavo Petro also posts a love picture that they took together and framed in a little booklet where Trump says, "Gustavo, a great honor. I love Colombia." And just like in the last one one with Modi, India. Whenever Trump says a country, he means the man's name because he can only see the man. He can't see past the man and see the entire country. He just means the man when he says the country. So when he says, I love Colombia, he means I love Gustavo Petro! And that's why he signed it in all caps. And so you'll see Gustavo Petro put it up here because he's so surprised that Trump would say I love you so soon since they just met and the enemies to lovers is progressing kind of fast. Okay, next. Petro says it's a Make America Great Again hat, but the America has an S on the end of it. So remember at the beginning how I told you that Trump said that thing about Gustavo Petro needing to watch his ass? Well, apparently, just like in the photo, Trump is watching it too. Because what does this say? America's! America's ass! He's looking at America, Petro's ass. And as explanation, Petro says, I propose to Donald Trump a change in fashion, putting an S on America. It seems he liked it. America ass. Now, of course, this also has a double meaning, just like how Petro is double cheeked up, at least to Trump, not to me. But this also has a double meaning in that Americas means that Trump is accepting all of South America as open routes that he will be willing to take and that he's excited. And that's why he put it in here, because he puts them on the same great level as his usual saying. Okay, next. And to show his thanks to Trump too, and keeping in line with the theme of the Americas, Gustavo Petro gives Trump a rainbow arching jaguar to represent power and protection. So if you look at all the evidence, Petro really cares about the South just as much as Trump does. And that's why this picture is the best picture of them. And after having a taste of Latino baddie Gustavo Petro, Trump must have gotten lost in the salsa because he made his own Latin American harem called the Shield of the Americas, which is colloquially known to everybody as the baddies of the Americas. And as you can see, here are all the baddies in the back. And this is a part of Trump's rare harem creation limited time event, which he has done as a result to get more P in his PRLC. Remember that in the back of your head. And Trump says the purpose of the Latino baddies harem was to form a military coalition so the Americas could protect each other. But I don't think that he wants them to stand at attention. He just wants to see something stand at attention. He just wants their attention. And that's why he said this.
President of El Salvador, you were young and handsome. Now you're older and handsome. When I first saw him, I said, he's too young. And then I saw the job he did. I said, well, I guess he's not too young.
Now, normally Trump doesn't care about age, but in this case, we can see that he's really playing it up to make all the baddies feel good about being in the Shield of the Americas summit because he really wants to impress them. And so he continued to flatter each and every leader, just like the leader of El Salvador. He even goes as far as to say this.
But many of you have come today and they say, I hope you can take care of Cuba because you've had problems with Cuba, right? You mentioned, I'll take care of it, okay?
He knows that by inviting them to his harem, he looks like a greedy bottom. And now everybody's gonna think he's an omega, but he doesn't want people to think he's an omega. He wants to look like an alpha. So to look like an alpha, he's telling them that he can protect them and that he'll take out Cuba for them. And this has been going on for 2 months because a few days ago, he said this about Cuba.
Carter, you mentioned that Cuba will be next. What did you mean by that exactly?
And who will be next?
Cuba.
Yeah, Cuba's going to be next. Cuba's going to be...
In what way?
Cuba's a mess. It's a failing country, and they're going to be next.
But because he's convening all the Latino baddies in one harem, and because of what he did when he kidnapped Maduro, we can assume something from this. He doesn't just want Cuba. He wants Cuba. Here's a predictive analysis of what him wanting Cuba would look like. And don't forget that this entire time, Trump knows that his rival for best harem of all time is Xi Jinping, who has his imperial harem and wants to expand because of all the resources he has. Because if you are a provider of Yaoi resources to all of the Yaois, then all of the Yaoi haremies will love you the most. And Trump wants to capture the Latin American Yaois so that they will love him more than they would love Xi Jinping. And it doesn't hurt if they have some Yaoi resources too. And for Trump, the more men the better, which is how we move into the next harem. Trump's Bop House has their first ever meeting. As you can see, here is as many of the bops as we can fit on the screen as possible. There are more bops, but because Trump has so many of them and they're all bopping around, it's hard to get all of them in the same room at the same time. This meeting was supposed to be about the Gaza peace plan. They even made a whole presentation for it. But instead, it turned into a huge glazing fest where all the bops started glazing main bop, Donald Trump, and saying that he was doing such a good job and that he was president of peace. That's probably why Trump invited Gianni Infantino, who is not a political leader at all. He's the president of FIFA, but because he gave Trump a Yaoi FIFA Peace Prize that was about balls, Trump thinks that he can handle many balls. So he's like, that's a good bop. I'm gonna put him in the bop house because he's obviously a bop at heart. And Trump is right, because from this picture, you can see Gianni Infantino grinning and blushing about Trump and putting Trump's colors on himself. He's branding himself as Trump's. So they keep glazing Trump. He's a professional snapshot of a real bop meeting where they're looking at each other with love. They keep glazing Trump, and Trump likes to reciprocate sometimes too. So he starts glazing them back. Roll the clip.
Prabowo of Indonesia. This is a big guy, tough and he's smart. The United States is going to make a contribution of $10 billion to the Board of Peace.
Just like with Prabowo, he was glazing them all. He was ready to kiss his bops. But I think that it might have gone too far for him and he started getting shy and embarrassed because he's a tsundere. So this happened.
President Pena of Paraguay is here. President, thank you very much. Young, handsome guy. It's always nice to be young and handsome. Doesn't mean we have to like you. I don't like young, handsome men.
Here's the translation for you if you didn't get the subtext. Trump is basically saying, boys can't kiss boys! Because he's in denial because he wants to kiss the boys. But he seems to come back around to the idea because at the end of the bot meeting, when he signs the papers and he does his little gavel thing, he's puckering his mouth. So obviously, he's ready for a kiss with the rest of the bops. As you can see, the rest of the bops are all excited to see him pucker up because they're ready for a piece of Trump's board. And so at this point, Trump's Omega tendencies were really showing, right? He really wanted a lot of harems, he wanted a lot of haremies, he wanted a lot of harem men, even when he kept pretending that he was in denial and that he didn't know what anybody was talking about when they told him he was Yaoi. But he kept wanting it. And it all happened after he got his first taste of the PRLC with Modi, because the oil was doing something to him. It was making him want to oil up with everybody. And this did not stop. It kept snowballing because Trump ended up saying this.
I wanted to be very well behaved. I didn't want to do anything that would affect the decision of the court. I wanted to be a good boy.
He calls himself a good boy! And now you might be saying, Lumie, out of context. He's not just saying that crazy. No, he's saying he wants to be a good boy. And the reason he's saying this because the Supreme Court was ruling on whether or not he was allowed to use his love tariff cheat codes or not. Because this whole time, as I mentioned with Modi in the beginning, Trump has been using his love tariffs on all of the routes because he has no riz. So the only way to raise their love meters has been by enabling cheats and sending love tariffs and forcing their love meter to go up. But the Supreme Court said cheats? That's not allowed in the political Yaoi dating sim. That's not right. So they started ruling on it. And he was nervous because he knew that if love tariffs went away, he would have nothing to show the other haremies that they needed to love him. And that's why he said he wanted to be a good boy. So they would do what he hoped they would and give him his love tariff cheats. But they didn't! And he got really mad about that. But even though he was mad at this meeting when he was talking about the Supreme Court, he couldn't help talking about men kissing him still! He couldn't help it! Because he says this.
President, I'd love to kiss you. This is a very powerful man. And he said, sir, I want to kiss you. He said, sir, I want to kiss you so badly. I don't want to be kissed by that man. And I said, no, thank you.
And about the same man, he also said this.
His wife is going to be extremely upset. I said, how are you doing? He said, President, if I didn't have all these cameras running, I would grab you and start kissing you violently.
He's talking about a really powerful man who was really powerfully into him. And the man he's mentioning is Andrew Seville, the president of Kusa Steel in Georgia, who is trying to steal a kiss from Trump! And normally, we all know Trump would jump at this opportunity. He always does. So why didn't he get with this very powerful man? Is it because he's not a political leader? But that can't be true because Zuckerberg is one of his pet routes. My theory is that he didn't kiss him because this is the turning point in the political Yaoi dating sim where Trump started playing hard favorites with Bibi Netanyahu! Just look at this picture of them together. Bibi is obviously his favorite. They're wearing inverse ties so they can match with each other, and he's pushing in his chair for him in a gentlemanly way. Why would he do that if not in an attempt to impress Bibi? So what does this mean for the harem ending? Well, Trump has been gunning for a harem ending this whole time, and as we can see because of the PRLC, right, the Petrol Rump Love Challenge, Trump is so obsessed with the oil and oiling up that he's been getting more and more and more sloppy, because oil obviously makes you slip and slide around. So he's been getting more sloppy because he wants to spend more time with other leaders to oil them up too. The more times they oil up with him, the more money goes into his sugar baby fund. Up until this turning point, specifically when he said he wasn't gonna kiss this man, I think that he has still been gunning for the harem ending. But by not kissing Andrew Seville, Trump makes a fatal mistake. He shows his hand to the rest of the harem me, because what is the #1 rule of harems and the cause of bad endings for all? Picking favorites! And this didn't go so well because Bibi noticed Trump gave him an inch and he took a mile. But you'll just have to wait for that in the next part, because we are ending part 1 right here.